This is James Lupton for Round 8 Boxing. Delighted to be joined with Trey Norman. Trey, hi, mate.
James, pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me on, bud.
No worries at all. Thanks for coming on. A bit of a wild journey. Love Island to the boxing ring. Talk to me about that journey. How's it been for you?
It's been crazy. It's been eclectic. It's been something that's really changed my lifestyle. Obviously, you go from Love Island and then you go straight into the boxing, the discipline, the sport. It's been something I've really enjoyed getting my teeth stuck into, and it's one that I plan to do for a long time.
You mentioned there, obviously, that change in that discipline and obviously your training regime and things like that. Obviously, you're in shape. You obviously, I'm imagining a gym head anyway, but it's a completely different kind of training for a fight. Talk to me about that change and what it done for you physically and mentally.
Yeah, boxing teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you mental resilience. It teaches you how to overcome impossible odds, both in mind and body. When you think you can't go that extra 10, 15, 20%, you can. And I mean, what I've learned from boxing is more the mental discipline side of things, the turning up when you're not feeling ready, putting yourself through those difficult spars, coming back, learning the sport, and it's much as about studying it as it is, physically being in the ring as well. So I'm very much a student of the game, and my head coach Brendan Flynn, Jimmy Joe's dad, is making sure that I'm ticking all the boxes. So I've had my first fight now. I've obviously fell in love with the sport from a young age, but I've never really had the opportunity to fight. Now I have that with coming off of the Love Island platform. And it's just about having as many fights as possible. It's something that's much more part of my life. My lifestyle in general is not as hedonistic as what it once was with Love Island. And it's just something about pushing barriers for me and seeing how far I can take it. But I love fighting. I love what it can do for you mentally. And it certainly gives me a lot of discipline and structure in my life as well. So, yeah, it's done so much for me as a person.
You mentioned there, obviously, you was a bit of a boxing fan sort of growing up. Talk to me about your love for boxing. How far back does it go? Who are your favourite fighters watching growing up? What's it like for you?
Yeah, I remember actually watching Gennady Golovkin. We all know him, Triple G. I watched one of his knockout reels, and I thought, God, I like the look of that. And my dad at the time, when I was 16, getting into loads of bother and trouble at school, he took me down to Tom Hill Boxing Club in Denby, Maine, and that's when I first learned to box. And then shortly after that, I went to university and did a little bit of the boxing club there, but nothing on a competitive level as such. So I just started to fall in love with the sport. Obviously, whilst I'm eating my tea, my breakfast, I'm watching Eddie Earn interviews, IFL TV, all that good stuff. And yeah, I just found it compared to other sports I've done all sorts, dancing, athletics, football. It's just that little bit of something. Once you get the bug for it, you can't get out of it. And yeah, it's just so dramatic, isn't it? You'll know, obviously, being a boxing journalist, there's always something new in boxing. There's always something dramatic happening, and it's certainly a sport that is very captivating.
Take me back to 16-year-old Trey walking into that boxing gym the first time. Do you remember it? What was it like?
Hey, yeah, I do actually. I remember it. So it's actually near Mexborough, the gym that I train now. So I train at Steffi Bull's gym, run by Jason Cunningham at the minute, and it's actually around the corner from there. So my dad at the time, I was getting into a load of bother at school. I had a 10-year older sister when I was at school. She was a glamour model, as you can imagine. That was a little bit difficult when you're a bit of a young lad at school. So I was always fighting. I was always getting into scraps, not because of my choice, but by circumstance. And my dad thought, you know what, let's channel some of this anger, this energy, and took me down to the boxing gym. And I remember walking in. Obviously, you can smell the sweat, the hard work. You can see it. The boys, rough, tough. They come from backgrounds, that are not very where you've got a lot of opportunity. You know what I mean? So you're always constantly fighting in the gym, and you can just sense that. And I went in, and I remember I actually had a spar on my first day. He got me head guard on. I had a gum shield already, and I had an absolute war with someone called Danny Morell. He was a 2-0 boxer at the time. Not at that time, but he was. I'm not sure what he's doing now. And I absolutely had a war with him, and I just got the bug for it. I thought this is a bit of me. I love fighting. It's something that I've always just enjoyed. I don't know why.
Is he the lad that was under Dave Adams' wing for a little bit?
It was, yeah. It was, yeah. So with Danny Morell, so obviously he boxed quite a lot, but they thought we'll chuck this lad in. It with that type of gym where you have a spar, you have a comeback or you don't. So it was just more to test if I liked it or not, and I got the bug, and I went on from there.
You make an interesting point there about, you get thrown at the deep end almost, and it's like you say, it's a swim or swim, a sink or swim situation, and you either go back to the gym or you don't. And obviously, you went back. You mentioned earlier the boxing bug. It caught you, it bit you, and it's still with you now to this day. Just talk to me about obviously the love of boxing and the differences from when you were 16 in the amateur gym to now going into Steffi Ball's gym and seeing the pros and being around that environment, the differences and what that's like for you experiencing that.
Obviously, from the amateur setup that was at in Tom Hill, obviously the level of professionalism, the experience, the history, a key word there, because the amount of champions that gym has produced. We look at the stable of fighters now: Terry Harper, Josh Padley, Jimmy Joe Flint. These are just straight off the tongue. So they've got numerous champions, numerous history. It's run by Jason Cunningham, three-time European champ. They've done it all, and you just see the levels of professionalism in both the training, the mindset, everything is structured with the training sessions, the advices that you can get and the experience you can gain from watching all the pros spar and getting involved in yourself. Like, say, my coach, Brendan Flint, he puts me through my paces. We go away sparring, Rico Franco's gym for my last fight as well. Shout out to them. They were fantastic help. And you live the life. It's very much not a sport. It's you go there, you train, whether you're an amateur or you're a professional, and it becomes very much a part of your life. It's ingrained in you from there. So whether that's your diet, your nutrition, your training, your resting, your recovery, I've just sort of grown as I'd like to say a fighter and as a person because I'm taking it serious in all elements. Like I said, all those things that I've just mentioned there from the amateur setup when I was going home and eating a bit of KFC, having one or two couple meals a day, and just training and not really taking it seriously for a fight. Now it's very much training like a pro and trying to achieve those levels as well. So we all take it very seriously. And the reason why I want to put in as much as I do is because I come from a proper gym that I want to represent. Also, I don't want to look a cock online and look poor like a lot of these influencers do. I want to look well fighting. I want to do my family proud and I want to show where I come from and what my gym is about. So it's more of a representation of my team and myself. And that means a lot to me. You know what I mean?
You mentioned that routine, and again earlier you said discipline. That's a big part of discipline as well. How intense was that change of schedule and routine for you in the beginning?
Well, it was something that I was ready for because obviously when you come off a Love Island and you're indulged in the hedonistic lifestyle of going down to London, going to PR events, drinking, girls, press, having fun parties, etc., it does get quite mundane, it does get quite boring. So for me, for someone who's always been structured on job, both in business and with my gym work, it was just sort of a change, a transformation that I was ready for and something that I wanted to grab with both hands. Like I said, I'm a go-getting guy in terms of goal setting and wanting to achieve things rather than just sort of pissing up the wall like most 20-year-olds do. So the boxing seemed to fit well with that. And more importantly, I want to have the biggest challenges. You know what I mean? Getting in a boxing ring and having a fight, especially when you've got a bit of a reputation for being a Love Islander, it's quite thrilling. There's a point to prove more to myself than to other people. And I like the idea of that, gaining respect, not through a TV show, but by doing something that's extremely difficult. That gives me a kick. You know what I mean? Boxing's difficult because yeah, you go in the ring and you can actually risk your life. In a spar when it doesn't go your way, that's hard as it is. So when you take the med guards off and you get the 10, 12 ounce gloves on, and you're fighting in front of a crowd of 1,000 people or 500 people like a couple of months ago, it's all to lose and it's all to gain. And so I think I'm chasing that different sort of buzz in my life. The Love Island buzz is great, TV, cameras, girls, that's all fantastic. But the sort of the warriorship and code of boxing and earning and channeling that, yeah, it's a different kind of respect, isn't it? As you'll know.
Did you feel pressure or nerves when you made your ring walk? Go back to February, you fought Kieran Elliott and walking to the ring, you mentioned the crowd and the people there, the buzz, the lights. Did you feel pressure? Did you feel nerves? Did you feel like you mentioned a point to prove?
Yeah, there was a lot riding on that fight for me personally, not because of the fight itself, but because of what I've been through as a person. The last 8 months prior to that fight, there was a lot of transformative changes in my life, which, whether it were personal relationships, the extreme highs, the extreme lows, coming off of Love Island, having all these transitions to deal with, family problems, money, all sorts, just massive colossal changes in your life which really don't register emotionally. And that's why the boxing gave me a channel to sort of put all my energy into that and turn it all into a positive. Because, like I said, there's been some extreme highs and extreme lows. So it gave me something to really get stuck into. And I just felt like going to the ring, that all came out of me. I did fight on emotion because I can box, I can definitely box a lot better than what I did because all I did is fight through about 3 jabs. It was just an absolute war. But going back to the ring walk, I was calm, I was relaxed, I was ready. I knew I was fit. I knew I could go the 3 rounds easily. Um, but I was just calm. And then when the ring walk came, obviously I had my tune, Another Love, Time Set Fire to the Rain by Adele. And obviously, these nerves there, you're always going to have them nerves, but pressure makes diamonds, doesn't it? And I love pressure. I'm a man who seeks it, who thrills in it, who swims in it. And that's what life's about for me. Not steady Eddie. It's just more chaos by circumstance and by choice, you know?
You mentioned earlier about the mental side of the game. In terms of in the fight, during the action, when you're tired, when you're getting punched in the head, all these thoughts probably running through your head about how knackered you are, etc., and all this stuff. How do you mentally, try and remember tactics, game plan, defend, attack, etc.? For you, how hard was that?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a. I could say this. It was a rabbit in the headlight moment where, that did go out the window. The matter of the game plan. Kieran, credit to him, fucking stuck it on me from the get go. He came straight at me and threw a massive right hand, and I thought, all right, is that how it is? And my ego, being a greenhorn in the boxing world, was like, if you think you can knock me out, because I know I can carry power and I can bang at my weight, I'm gonna get you before you get me. So I threw with him. So the game plan as such, I got brought into a fight when I shouldn't have. I should have boxed and knockout generally comes. But that's credit to Kieran that because he pulled me into a dogfight. And yes, when you're tired, when you're running on empty, when you've thrown the kitchen sink at him, he licks his lips and he smiles at you, and vice versa back. You go into a dark place, aren't you? But I was never going to be denied. I was never going to get stopped because the fighter in me has always been there in terms of getting through life, having ups and downs, coming through trials and tribulations in my personal and business life. So I was never going to be caught wanting. I was never going to quit. I was just going to go till the end. And I did think I actually nicked it. I thought I got knocked down in the first round. That was a bit unlucky not to get an account for. And, I thought I nicked two out of the 3 rounds with an argument of the draw. But yeah, it was a good fight. And I think that was going to bring me on loads for my next one because whatever I do, I'm just going to follow instruction and not get caught into a dogfight. Obviously, there's a time for that, isn't there? Time for fighting and time for boxing, but I just had a brawl with him. He got me a good. Give him that.
But from that, you mentioned next time it's going to be stick to the game plan a lot more, a bit more disciplined in terms of the action.
Mm.
How much did you learn from that fight against Kieran?
So much to the point where for the past 6 weeks I've not thrown a right hand and I've thrown about 1,000 jabs a week because I've got a good jab. I've got a good jab and I didn't use it. I just got caught in a dogfight. So little basic things like that. Obviously, everything works off the jab, doesn't it? In boxing, the jab sets everything up, and the fact that I didn't even use my jab because I just wanted to take his head off because it was egotistical of me and inexperience. Simple things like just working off my jab and not getting tied into it, letting him have his moments rather than throwing with him. Silly things like that. And I've absolutely picked apart the video. I must have watched it about 100 times because I know I can be so much better, but I know it won't happen again. But when you have those tough, hard fights, especially for my first one, I feel like it's going to bring me on leaps and bounds. So when I get on that big platform like a Misfits, hopefully, I'm ready and I'll look good doing it.
How much of a bollocking did you get for that performance where you got dragged into that dogfight?
Yeah, I got a bollocking. Yeah, it won't happen again. My coach was not best pleased, but I think there was some positives to take away. It's not all doom and gloom. I was more gutted because I was pissed off for probably not listening to instruction and getting captured in moment. But he said he was proud of me, which meant a lot. Brendan obviously he's put a lot of time into me. He's been like a second father figure. So I've built some great relationships from this boxing game as well, and long-term relationships I plan to grow as well. So yeah, there were a lot of positives to take. Heart, chin, definitely a chin because he caught me with a few good shots, and that desire and not caught wanting. So all the basic fundamentals I think to go far in the sport at this level in particular are there. It's just about just sharpening up my boxing, not getting caught up in the moment, and working things off the jab and bringing it all through together. And that's why I'm right excited for my next fight because I think it is all there, and I'm going to be as fit as a fiddle as well for my next one. Currently running VMAX test. I currently know where I need to be for my next one, which is going to be in May, and I'm going to smash that to bits. And then the Misfits are not going to catch me out. We're saying you're fighting in a week, fighting 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'll be fit as a fucking butcher's dog, and I'll be ready to go wherever, whenever. So that's my next stage and my next plan of attack. Yeah.
You mentioned the next one, May. How active would you like to be this year? You fought in February, fighting again in May. Are you hoping for another after May, another two fights after that, three fights?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's like it's a bit ridiculous because I actually watch pro boxing and amateur boxing at a really good standard. Amateurs fight every week, don't they? Some semi-pro lads they fight near enough every week as well, depending on what they do, the unlicensed boys. And then there's this like sort of category of the pros where they fight, let's say, 4 times a year, depending on what the level they're at, or 3 times. But me, I'd like to fight every 2, 3 months, mate. Because obviously it's pro level, as in terms of rules, no head guard, small gloves. But in terms of the quality of opposition and maybe the level of training they put in, I'd like to fight every 2, 3 months. Obviously, that's not happening at the minute. So part of me wants to maybe go back on the amateur circuit, do a little bit there, fight week in week out, learn my craft. But I'm not sure. I'll have to discuss it with my coach and stuff like that. But if it were up to me, I'd fight every couple of months. I like to get paid. I like to obviously box in general. I'm not scared of getting knocked out and getting beat. Records are for DJs. I'm more interested in developing as a fighter, as a person. Having losses, coming back, having wins, and coming, and just building that story. And having a few fights and see how far I can take it. So it's a bit frustrating at minute because we haven't got a date as such. But I know in this game, especially with Misfits, they're very lax with dates and a lot of pull out. So I've got to stay ready, mate. That's all I've got to do. I've got to stay ready, be sharp, be fit, be on point, and ready to fight whenever. And that's what I'm doing. Just training as if I've got a fight at about 80%. I can turn it up a notch then.
So you mentioned the Misfits side of things and the scale of the events they put on, the magnitude of the population of that
Yeah.
promotion. Really, it's a very popular promotional outfit there with their audience. Does that excite you, seeing how rapid influencer boxing is growing and to be a part of that?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, have you been to one of Misfit shows yourself?
I have, yeah,
Yeah, well, my first one that I went to was Darren Tilby, Anthony Taylor
yeah.
at Manchester Arena Co-op, and I could not believe the crowd that were there at 6 o'clock from the start, and it gave me a buzz because I do want that limelight, I do want that attention, that all eyes on me pressure, and I was looking around thinking, fucking hell, I could definitely do this. I could walk the walk here and have a go at it, win, lose, or draw. I'd love to fight on a stage like this. It'd be a pleasure. And it'd be something I dreamed of as a boy. When you're watching all pro boxing yourself, the walk out, they have the ring walk, they get the win, they jump up on the ropes. It's more the glory. The money's great for it, but that doesn't actually interest me. It's more the glory and putting yourself through a training camp and growing as a person and as a fighter and I think on a platform like that, for what I want to promote as a person, self mastery, positivity, self growth and development, and sort of taking life as an experience and enjoying the moment and seeing how far you can push the experience to. That's what I want to promote. So I think that would give me a good platform that obviously shows me in a different light rather than the Love Island. You've seen the party boy, you've seen the pretty boy doing all this girls, parties, drinks, hedonism, whatnot. But there's more to me with substance that I can show through the boxing. So it offers a good dimension for me, and that's why I want to do it. I think that's the heart of the reason why I want to do it. Let's say.
Do you think with the gym you're in and the people you're surrounded by in the gym day in, day out, do you think that gives you a bit of a head start over other influencer fighters in your division? Do you think you're potentially head and shoulders above the other fighters around you?
And I think those on the Misfits scene with me, I think what differentiates me from them, I mean, I could name a few, is the mindset. I feel like they just can't beat my mindset. Obviously, I know that boxing, a lot of things can happen. You can get caught with a lucky punch. Things can go wrong in camp, and and you might not stick to the game plan, as I've learned. But I think what separates me to a lot of fighters in the misfit scene, different to pro boxers. I just think it's the mindset, the discipline. I'm not going to be caught out in a nightclub at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. When I set a goal, I stick to it and I achieve it. All I do with my goals is win, and I have done from when I started this journey at about 15, 16, with everything in my life through university, through my business life, and then going on Love Island, and then what I've done since I've come out in terms of my personal development as well. So what separates me is probably my mindset. It can't be beat. It'll never be beaten. And that's what gives me the edge, the discipline, the mental focus. I train like a pro, and fortunately for me, I've got the people around me who also live, breathe, and that's their life. And I just follow the pattern of them. And I can't go far wrong, can I? So, and that's what I think gives me the edge. The team, I've got a world class gym on my doorstep in Doncaster, 5 minutes from my mum and dad's house. Could actually run it, and just my personal belief, and that's everything in it. Belief in whatever it is you're doing.
No,
So
absolutely, absolutely. Final couple of questions, Trey, before I let you go. Let's say you get a phone call tomorrow from Mams Taylor and KSI. Misfits want you. What's the dream venue and who's the dream opponent?
you know what, dream venue would be like somewhere in Leeds, somewhere in Leeds. Like not the football stadium, but an arena in Leeds. And my a fight, that I think would be a really good fight. Ed Matthews, me versus Ed Matthews. HS's bum chum, I think he is, isn't he? So I think two very different personalities. He's your typical 27-year-old, fucking smokes weed, goes out, does this, bit of a fucking juvenile delinquent. I'm the complete opposite to that. And I think we just have a good buzz, a good press conference, two completely different characters, dispositions. And I think that he comes out swinging. And that's a good challenge for me because I love a dogfight at the minute anyway. So would I box him or would I swing with him? Either way, I think he's had a lot more fights than me. He's had 5 or 6, hasn't he? So he's more experienced. He's been there. He's been knocked out. He's knocked a few people out, and I just fancy it both for the promotion and I think it'd make a good fight. So yeah, I fancy that. Mams Taylor, Leeds. I think we'd sell a lot of tickets. Maybe Ed Matthews would be a good fight. That.
You mentioned the press conference and the promotion. Do you like that side of it as well, selling a fight and the trash talking? Do you like that?
Yeah, I just don't think they're on my level. It's easy to shout diatribe at someone and and categorize the looks or pick their stories apart or whatever. But with guys like that, I just play with them. They're not on my level, oratory wise or mental. You know what I mean? I just sort of I look at them and observe them in intrigue. You know what I mean? They're like what's the best way to call them? Gimmicks. They're like internet gimmicks, aren't they? All selling the souls, running around with cameras. I saw them all at the Misfits. And I'm like, what is it you actually doing? I think you're stealing a living. You're not providing value. What are you actually showing young kids nowadays? How to be a bit of a prick on TikTok, smoke weed. It's just not positive, isn't it? And when you look at it and extrapolate that onto a macro level, like all the societal decline that we're seeing in UK. I've got a 5-year-old nephew. Unfortunately, he has TikTok and other things like that, and he sees people like this. And I feel like there's not a lot of positive sort of influences out there or people with influence. So I'm the opposite. So I'm not saying it's good for evil. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I promote something a bit different than why what we're obviously seeing at the minute. And it's not great. I don't think it's good. So I need to be the opposing force, the force for good. I need to come in, do a good job, destroy half of these clowns, get a good little paycheck out of it, learn a few things about myself, tell a good story, and promote what I want to promote, which is obviously that self mastery, that journey, having the ups and downs, life tapestries, and sharing that experience of my definition of success is not what you have materialistically. It's looking in the mirror and liking the reflection that you see. That's my story, and that's what I want to share with different people. A lot of them are going about it the wrong way, and I feel like this. these platforms to fight, you can have the banter and the press conferences and the promotion, but I can get that message across and do it in a good way. So that's what I want to do.
Absolutely. Trey, I'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time. Pleasure speaking to you. Really interesting as well. So thank you again.
Smashing James. Take care, bud. Thanks for having me on as well, mate.
Always anytime. Thanks, mate.